What's going on, party people? It's your boy, Chris Anthony Lopez, joined by Sean Wingley for the first time on the new and improved News and Views on Flickin' Real. What's going on this lazy Sunday? Sean, how we doing, big dog? How you doing?
I wish it was going to be a lazy Sunday. I have so much stuff to do around the house as soon as we're done here.
Dude, I mean, one of my roommates, like, she's already all over the place, doing like an early, like a late winter, early spring cleaning, and that's
Oh, yeah.
exactly what I'm gonna do the second we get off of this.
Yeah.
But I had to come on here for news and views. Apologies in advance for those expecting the show yesterday. Your boy wasn't feeling too hot when he woke up in the morning, and our boy, Pastor Dad Scott Fox, is out of town. Jesse Swift a little tied up, and Sean was so kind to wait for me for this morning. So Sean,
I've been sitting here for 24 hours.
and I know, and that's my fault. And
It really threw all my plans for yesterday out the
You
window.
could have been doing so many other things, but
Yeah.
you sat in that chair, the same shirt. He's wearing the same shirt as he was yesterday.
Exactly.
But here we are, and we're going to talk about, just some little Marvel stuff from this Entertainment Tonight interview that Kevin Feige had done, and then we're going to talk Ant-Man for the rest of the show. A little lazy Sunday here on News and Views. But before we do any of that, you already see it ticking at the bottom of the screen. We are your source for your reviews, your news, and your weekly discourse. And make sure you go ahead and like the video while you're here, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications every time we go live, and comment if you're watching this after the fact. We appreciate the love every time we can get it. So, Sean.
What's up?
Dude. It's been a big week for Marvel,
Yes.
because I feel like after 2022, there was a lot of Marvel fatigue, right? And that was the main source of conversation through every single one of these projects. Oh, hey guys, it's time for Moon Knight. Psych, here's Doctor Strange. Psych, here's Loki. Psych, here's Miss Marvel. Psych, here's Eternals. Like, there's so many different things going on last year, but now we're starting off on a slower pace, and that's something that Kevin Feige wanted to emphasize off rip, amongst other things. Like, we got some updates on Spider-Man and that dreaded M word that's been thrown around Miss Marvel and that we heard in Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. But I want to ask you real quick. Kevin made it a point to say that they're going to slow it down on projects going forward. And I mean, I'm pretty sure we can all say in confidence that that's probably the best course of action for the MCU. But did you think they would fold this soon? They did it for about a year, and they're like, this is too much.
I don't think they're folding. I think they're realizing, and a lot of it came from the investors call too with Bob Iger.
Yes,
and
welcome back, Bob.
Right. Well, but I mean, they're less into the subscriber growth. Like, they hit their targets way earlier than expected. So they had to change up their release of content plan as well, because now it's about keeping subscribers, not growing them with the next thing that's dropping every single So it's like, all right, cool. Now we've seen all these shows. We like these shows, but we need time to watch these shows and movies. And there wasn't any time. They constantly had what was it, Miss Marvel and Obi-Wan, I think, were overlapping each other.
They're running at the same time.
And then for a minute, Andor and She-Hulk were overlapping each other. And even currently, right now, Bad Batch is still airing. I don't watch the Bad Batch, so I don't know what the type of audience it is, but Mandalorian's about to start in 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks. So and they're still like, it's going to overlap for about 4 weeks. So I think they realized how much they're cutting off their own tail every time they're releasing a new thing, and they're not giving time for everything to breathe. And I think too, maybe what I think would be a good idea is don't have everything freaking drop just on Wednesday at midnight. Like, look at what The Last of Us is doing on HBO. They own Sunday nights. HBO has always owned Sunday nights at 6 or 9 p.m. depending on where you're at, right? They own that time slot because they drop the hottest, whatever show it is, whether it be House of the Dragon, The Last of Us, all the way back to like Sopranos and everything else they used to do. Disney can do that. Own a Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Own a Friday night at 6 p.m. Don't drop it at midnight. We don't want to stay up till midnight and 2 a.m. to watch these shows. I think they could do that. I don't know if they will do that, but I think they could do that. if they just change up their release structure a bit,
Mhm.
but spreading out the shows so they have time to breathe. So one, they're not overlapping each other, but two, give some time to talk about this event for a good 2 weeks or so afterwards, after it airs, before you roll into the next one. I think it's a great idea to hold off slightly in that aspect. So it'll give us time to watch other things, because there's still so many Hulu and Netflix and everything else that drops, and because Netflix is doing it too. Netflix is changing up their release structure. Right,
Ever so slightly. Yep.
they did it with Stranger Things last year, where they
Yep.
dropped the last 2 episodes a month later, and I think they might be heading that way in the future. We also have Apple TV, and so many shows are dropping, and as well as the movies they're putting out. So hopefully they're learning from their, I wouldn't say mistakes. They're just adjusting their approach. You know what I mean?
I love that you mentioned The Last of Us bit, and really just HBO, because I mean, damn, even with like House of the Dragon, like they were like these straight to HBO Max. And shout out to All in the Game in the chat. All in the Game, what's good? Encouraged by Feige's recent confirmation of a slowdown in releases, starting with the Marvels being pushed back to November, and possibly only 2 Disney Plus shows in Secret Invasion and Loki season 2 being released this year, 1000%. And that ties into all of this, right? Like there was just like an influx of stuff, and a lot of people got caught up. I've had conversations with folks recently that said like, "Oh, I haven't seen this thing yet. I think I can wait on this thing." But by design, they told us from the beginning, "Hey, you have to watch everything.
Yeah.
If you are going to be fully in the know." Especially when we talk about Ant-Man later in this program, you're gonna have to start watching the other stuff to fully comprehend what's going on in this overall universe, for better or for worse. But I love what you said, Sean.
I
On
think
Wednesday nights, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9
on the
p.m.
time slot.
Eastern, that would be ideal.
Right.
Ideal.
Well, so for Ant-Man, at least, and we'll get to the spoilers later. Just shout out to All in the Game. We're gonna talk spoilers as soon as we run through the news. We're gonna do Ant-Man spoilers at the very end. So just keep that in mind. But
we will talk about Ant-Man.
So I don't think, not as much as the previous movie, you didn't have to have watched Loki to understand Ant-Man and Kang. They did a good job at explaining his origin stuff.
Oh yeah.
But for Doctor Strange, you had to have watched WandaVision, or you had no idea what was happening. You were when did she get kids, and her and Vision? Like, you had no idea what was happening. So you were stuck, forced to go and get all this extra content. Because I saw it first, opening night, and then afterwards, my wife was like, "Oh, I want to watch Doctor Strange." I'm like, "Then we need to sit." She had never watched WandaVision, so like, we need to sit down and watch this before you get to Doctor Strange. So we did that. Whereas Ant-Man, I was like, "Oh, you should probably watch Loki first." And then I went and saw it, and I'm like, actually, you don't really need to. Like, it helps. It gives you some backstory to Kang and the Menace and stuff like that, and timelines, branching timelines. But you don't have to have seen it. They do a good enough job at explaining it within the movie.
And Kevin, in this interview exactly with Entertainment, I put Entertainment Tonight, but it's really Entertainment Weekly, so that's my bad. I'll have to update that momentarily. But
different programs.
It's a different entertainment. But I think that with this whole idea, like it was rocky from the beginning, right? That you had to tell folks, yo, you have to watch everything to fully comprehend it. And maybe not now, like what you said, Sean. Like folks can watch their little like folks can watch Loki if they want to, folks can watch WandaVision if they want to, but then they can't get essentially mad at us when they are a little confused going into Doctor Strange. And who knows, I know the M word got brought up for Namor or Namor in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Folks are like, mutant, oh my god. It's like, well guys, if you watched Miss Marvel,
right,
like we've heard this before. And like I know in this interview as well, he talked about apparently they know when the mutants are coming. They have an idea, because of course they do.
Oh yeah.
The second that we heard mutation and the like, we knew that was going to be a thing. But I love that this is mapped out through at least phase 6, 7.
Yeah, and that might be time for when Kevin finally wants to step away and do something else with his life. I don't know.
Like Star Wars.
Like Star Wars has been the big thing because he has been already on record or maybe announced as a producer of a Star Wars film, and so we'll see if I can't remember. I was watching some other show and they looked up his ages. Like Kevin's in his mid-50s, Kathleen Kennedy's are over 70. Like
Oh wow.
she's probably close to retirement age. Someone's got to pick up the reins and run with that franchise, right? And I would imagine Kevin has probably helped, usher in a new producer who could take the role, or even a team of producers who could take his role in Marvel and just keep that machine rolling down the road. You don't have to reinvent it. You just have to keep it rolling type of thing. Whereas Star Wars needs some help, I think, with reinvention because they've faltered in previous years. I think to the word mutants, though, and where they're heading, I think so far, if you go back and watch those, they're using the word mutant, and it is become a trigger word for Marvel fans because we're all waiting for the mutants and the X-Men to show up.
Yes.
They haven't used the word mutant as a noun yet. They've used it as like an adjective. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, right. It was a mutation, and oh yeah, I was a mutant. Like they're not saying people, I am a mutant. I am, they haven't.
It's not used the same way that Wolverine would refer to
exactly as the mutants, right? They will get there. I think they'll get there, but I think everyone just like overhypes that part of it where it's like mutants. They said, they said that it's a word in the English language. Like they said the word mutant. Like, calm down. Oh my God, shoelace. They said shoelace. Yeah, it's I tie my shoes with shoelace. Yeah, I think everyone just overhypes that a bit, but that's just me.
There's a lot of
it's a trigger word in a good way. It's a good
totally
word.
Like it gets people excited.
Yes,
because that's been the big thing, especially since Disney acquired Fox. Like we're all just waiting, waiting, and especially once we get through all this Kang stuff and we get through Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty, then we can worry about the mutants.
Yeah,
like how many of us have theorized over the last year. But I want to mention a couple other tidbits from this interview. And Sean, anything that jumps out at you, please stop me. There is a story in place for a Spider-Man 4. And writers have not put pen to paper yet, but there's a story. They have an idea, which is always a good sign. They do know about mutants, as we've mentioned, besides Kamala Khan and Namor. Deadpool 3 further emphasized as the first rated R MCU property.
Right.
They're not treating this as if it's something else. It's within the MCU. And again, we're excited to have Hugh Jackman back. Thaddeus Ross is the confirmed U.S. president. We're having Harrison Ford be the president of the United States again on film, this time in the MCU. And the Fantastic Four are going to be this massive and huge entity, according to Kevin Feige. So if we're going to take anyone's word for it, it's Kevin's. And apparently the Fantastic Four are going to be where the party's at over the next however so long the MCU is going to roll around. But what jumps out at you, Sean, from those little bits that we got from Kevin Feige, and why is it Fantastic Four?
I was going to mention Fantastic Four first. So I think Fantastic Four are going to take the slot of Iron Man in the first three phases, meaning he was kind of in the sense that he was the linchpin with all the stories, right? He was the impetus of all of this tech, where Ultron came into play. He helped out in Spider-Man's story. He was in Civil War. He was obviously like the lead of the Avengers along with, Captain America. So he was essentially, he's mentioned in every, Tony Stark. Like he's mentioned, in every. So I think that the Fantastic Four as a group are kind of going to take that overarching presence in all of the films going forward, or at least for the next couple of phases. So I think that's why they say there will be the linchpin, so to speak, is that they're going to, once they come onto the scene, it's going to be like, oh, Reed Richards, what? Oh, I love the human, so that type of stuff. The Deadpool of it, I don't know if Deadpool is built to last in the MCU because of the nature of his story.
Are you about to come in hot?
I think that they might just kill them both. Like they're obviously like Hugh Jackman's not going to keep playing Wolverine forever.
No,
I think this will be the first R-rated movie in the MCU, meaning they will multiverse hop into the MCU from whatever Earth they're calling the Deadpool X-Men verse.
Sure. Earth
And
X.
I wonder if he'll stick around though. You know what I mean? I wonder if he'll end his arc, his story, because Ryan Reynolds probably wants to do as much as he loves Deadpool. Sure, he probably wants to do other things. So I'm just curious if we're going to get a Deadpool 4 and 5. That's a lot for a single character, or maybe he'll pop in on other stories. I don't know what the contracts look like with a Fox turned Marvel team up with Sony, like a Spider-Man type of thing.
Oh yeah.
But he also doesn't really fit with the Tom Holland Spidey, so the tone of it, I don't know what'll happen, and I'm not familiar with the relationships from the comics, so I don't know how that type of stuff would work. I would just imagine he's been playing Wade Wilson since 2009. Deadpool came out in 2016. And when he finally got the actual movie off the ground, by the time this movie comes out, it'll be 8 years since the first movie, and he might just want to move on. As much as he loves the character, obviously, he might just want to do other things. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe until checks come calling and movies stop cashing. Stop hitting the box office, and then you come back to it. So who knows?
I love that you mentioned that point, because that's something that's been in my brain for a while. I'm just kind of scared to say it. Because of not only the reaction, but I also don't want to believe it.
Okay.
Are we all prepared for this to be the last Deadpool thing with Ryan Reynolds in it? Like, that's not that they don't even have to kill the character off.
Right.
But where does this one character fit in the rest of this universe? Where? Like, I know they could use them against the big bad, whoever the hell that is, like any Kang or Kang variant, whatever. Sure. But I am very intrigued into how Wolverine plays into this, because now people are going to expect Hugh Jackman to stick around. Talk about dudes who are tired of playing the same character. Dude said goodbye to Wolverine, 6 years ago?
Yeah, in 2017. 17, yeah,
17, and now here he is again, but the story was so damn good, apparently,
right?
And then money must have been that check. I bet that check cashed easy.
Well, but I think that kind of shows, I think, the power of like, my other stuff's not like, I think he didn't get great reviews from the Music Man, if I remember reading a story about that. Hugh Jackman specifically. I love The Greatest Showman, but I think that some of his other more dramatic work is not popping off at the box office. Like, he's not like a leading star for this drama stuff, which he obviously wants to do less action, more drama stuff. It's just not popping off, I think, as much as he got good praise for The Sun. Possible even like awards consideration, but not like box office. I think it didn't pop off in the in the box office. So I don't know.
I mean, we'll see. And All in the Game mentioning some stuff in the chat. Thanks, All in the Game. We appreciate the love. He's never going to stop playing Deadpool. Can you picture someone else playing the character in 5 to 10 years? That's a great question. No. But also, does Ryan want to play Deadpool for another 5 to 10 years? And is Deadpool in the mix?
Well,
amongst the overall thing going, I mean, unless they want to treat him like Moon Knight and he's in his own little pocket.
Yeah, that could be it, because we have no idea what universe Moon Knight actually fits into, because there's allusions, but to the MCU's verse, whether Earth we're on like 616, are we on 616? I can't remember. But it could be just an alternate timeline universe type. Any of these properties could be alternate timeline. Just that's how timelines work, right? One decision changes a little bit, not a lot. Always.
Right, like I guarantee the MCU we've been watching isn't the only one that had a snap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that, can you picture someone else playing the character in 5 to 10 years time? I don't think we're in for a reboot for the next 20 years.
Right.
There are so many comic characters. Iron Man was not an A-list character. Even Captain America was not an A-list character in Marvel prior to the MCU coming around. The Avengers were not an A-list team before the MCU came around. And who knew who the hell the Guardians of the Galaxy were before 2014, right?
Great point.
They have created these stars. The characters have become stars. Not even just the actors. The characters have become stars because Marvel put their weight behind them and pushed them to the forefront. And they're like, hey, this is this cool character. Congrats. Now you want to see a talking raccoon and a tree on screen having a great father-son relationship, right? And so And there are so many other characters, I'm sure, in Marvel, including the X-Men, who has a huge team of X-Men, and you could spin off and do little tiny groups of X-Men, or just single characters could have their own 3-movie arc, right? The Fantastic Four themselves, and so many others that I just don't even know about. That I think that there's so much content, we're not going to reboot this universe for a very long time. So
Exactly.
I don't, and anyone who just stops playing the character because they age out of it, I don't think we're going to get a reboot of a new character. If they want to do some multiversal stuff and grab another actor to play the character, that only works. That's only going to work once or twice. You can't just do that for every actor, or every character rather. It's going to be a very handful of times that you can only do that. So that's just how I feel about it. This is going to be the Star Wars length of in-universe canon. They're just going to keep moving forward.
Exactly. And the Deadpool of it all intrigues the hell out of me, but we won't really know until we watch the movie, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not going to tell us anything, or they're not going to announce Deadpool 4, at least I don't think so, prematurely, before we figure out what his role in his whole universe is. But one of the last things I want to mention from quickly from this Kevin Feige interview, the Fantastic Four, I love what you said, Sean, about them essentially being the Iron Man of the next phase or two. Like, again, not necessarily they may not draw like Iron Man, like how Iron Man became a part of pop culture, this CB level superhero within comics ended up becoming one of the most recognizable superheroes on the face of the earth, and made Robert Downey Jr. Like a generational movie star.
Right.
But the Fantastic Four as a group within and their role within the universe, I love that point. And again, On the Game mentioned something I want to pinpoint. We may only be getting 2 shows this year, because we got like 4 or 5 announced, and Secret Invasion and Loki are probably going to be the ones that we get, because we already got a look at Secret Invasion, and we already know that Loki season 2 is coming. But Echo is another one that we were supposed to get this year. We might not. Right. And Ironheart was something that was initially released, or supposed to be released in November later this year, but that they might get bumped to 2024. And what does that mean for the other shows that have been announced? Like, I know we're getting the ever-changing title of the Agatha Harkness show. Like, that's happening at some point.
House of, what's the new one?
Coven of House of Harkness Dragon, The Last of Us.
Yes, exactly.
Whatever it is.
Some to that effect.
And we're getting Daredevil at some point. Like, amongst, are we getting another season of She-Hulk? Are we getting more Moon Knight? We've got nothing so far, at least in regards to season 2s outside of Loki. And these limited series, what is a limited series and what's not, we're still toying with that. I guess it just depends on what Kevin wants for the overall universe. But 2 shows, as All in the Game mentions in the chat, 2 shows, 2 movies per year would be great, but we know Marvel's going to give us at least 3 movies,
probably, yeah,
and at least probably 2 shows. We still might get Echo. It might be a little Christmas thing for us,
right?
But who the hell knows? But there's slowing down. Coven of Chaos, thank you, because they change the name like every couple days. But there's so much stuff going on, and dialing it back a little bit won't hurt. And I think that's a good transition to talk into Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
We had a movie.
And Sean, we both got to see it in the past few days. And I want to preface this by saying, before we start anything, for those who have not seen Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, spoilies. We will be talking spoilies. If you do not want spoilies and you want Sean's thoughts on it, he did a review with Jesse Swift on the channel. Go ahead and check that out right now. You can come back to this when you get done watching the flick. But Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania came out this week. It's going to rule the box office. I think we were close. I don't know if when we did box office predictions,
so
Sean, but I think I want to say I pushed for 300, and I think I'm damn near going to get it.
Oh, worldwide?
Yeah, worldwide.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, did we do? I don't remember.
If I said domestic, I was really feeling myself that day.
Let me see.
That's a lot of money. in the
let me
States.
look it up just to see box office, because I think the numbers actually
Shout out
come
to Scott Fox. We're gonna do a quick box office for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
So
Quantumania.
worldwide 225.
Woo! Okay. Okay.
Domestic 104 is the number.
Okay.
Yesterday morning, someone put the domestic at like 120. Obviously, it didn't do an extra 20 overnight. Which how are you going to put a domestic? It's like official domestic 120. I'm like, it's Saturday morning. I haven't even bought a ticket for the day. What the hell?
I might decide to go again tonight.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that's including tomorrow's, because tomorrow hasn't happened yet, and technically it's a President's Day.
Oh, right, the President's Day
so
weekend. Right.
Yeah, I don't know if that includes that, but I do like that it made over 100. Exactly, all in the game. Yeah, it made over 100. Because I think the first one made 65, second one made about 85, this one made 100. That's trajectory. That's really
great,
good, right?
That's great.
Probably cost a lot more, because I think there was a lot more special effects.
Oh God,
for sure.
This movie,
absolutely,
damn well it costed a ton more. They shot this whole thing on a green screen.
Yeah, exactly. It was all in the volume or whatever they decided to film it on. But what was your original quote? Yeah, I think I originally predicted like 125, because I was looking at Thor: Love and Thunder. Yeah, domestic. I was looking at like Thor: Love and Thunder and Doctor Strange, and then the kind of like how much they made in comparison to their previous film. And I think I was right around 120, so I felt just short of that, but that's where I was going.
Yeah. This whole flick looked like it costed a ton of money. It's gonna make a ton of quiche. I don't know the.
There we go. Yeah, 120 is the 4-day number.
The 4-day number. Thank you. But I don't know what the big deal is, or what the next big like tentpole thing that might knock this movie down a few pegs.
You don't know? Oh, dude, we have so many movies coming out.
Is something coming out next week that I just don't know about? Because I know March is pretty crazy.
Something is coming out every week, and that's the problem. So I don't know how. Let's see. I guess I tweeted this out. You liked my tweet. Okay. So Ant-Man this weekend. Next weekend's Cocaine Bear. I don't think it's not Ant-Man.
Cocaine Bear.
I mean, people want to see it, but it's not gonna not.
200 million domestic for Cocaine Bear.
Creed 3 on the 3rd.
Oh shucks, that's
Scream 6 on the 10th.
Oh, okay.
65 and Shazam 2 on the 17th.
Am I the only one that thinks 65 looks mid?
I know. Yes, you are the only one. Everyone else wants to see Kylo Ren fighting dinosaurs. I didn't like it. Everyone else wants to see Kylo Ren and dinosaurs. So yes, you're the only one. So yeah, 65 and Shazam same day on the 17th. John Wick 4 on the 24th.
Yes.
And then D&D on the 31st of March.
Yo,
that's just the next 6 weeks.
I told you March is crazy. Yeah.
And then the first week of April is Super Mario, which is gonna make $1 billion. I guarantee you, Super Mario is gonna make $1 billion.
The Wing Blade,
and I'm excited for it too.
The Wing Blade guarantee.
Yeah, and it's only an hour and a half movie, so you can fit an extra.
It's 90 minutes.
It's 1 hour and 32 minutes.
Yes,
easy 92 minutes, and you can fit an extra screen time. So one extra screening in per day. That kids are going to want. I'm going to want to see that movie. I
want to see it.
I'm excited too. So yeah, so the next movie. Cocaine Bear not going to knock off Ant-Man, but Creed 3 might.
Creed 3 will.
By the time Ant-Man's in its 3rd week, that Creed 3 will be the #1 movie.
Jonathan Majors will have the top 2 movies at the box office that week.
Yeah,
it'll be Creed and Ant-Man.
Let me see what the last Creed.
But March is crazy. Oh man, that is insane. March has so much going on. And didn't D&D get pushed back a few weeks? But it's still in the line of fire with all this other garbage. I shouldn't say garbage, but all these other flicks.
Yeah, it's on the 31st.
Oh man. Oh, that's insane. There's a new thing every week.
So Creed 2 opening weekend. Oh, it came out on Thanksgiving. So that
definitely helps.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By Sunday, it had made 56 million. So it had that extra Wednesday, Thursday push. In total, though, it only made 214. So I think for opening weekend now,
Creed 2?
Creed 2. Yeah, Creed 2 only made 214 total. Opening weekend, they consider it 35. But when you give the full Thanksgiving weekend, it made 56.
Interesting.
I think that it Yeah, so I'd put it around 40 to 50 opening weekend because I think people are very excited and it's getting
the
good
box
reviews.
office at that point.
Yeah.
But when Scream comes out, I think Scream will have. Yeah, damn, March sucks for movie studios, but rocks for us because we're gonna see every movie every week.
Right.
But Ant-Man. Let's talk about Ant-Man.
Let's talk about it. Oh, Scream opening weekend only made 30. Yeah,
I'm
last
gonna see it at least 10 times opening weekend.
It made 140 total worldwide at the end of its box office, but it only made 30 opening weekend.
You are underestimating the Jenna Ortega push after Wednesday. Dude,
Jenna Ortega. She's so hot. She's so hot right now.
She's the internet's girlfriend. Still,
yeah, 100%. Everyone loves her.
But
anyway, we get back to Ant-Man spoiled.
Ant-Man. We're talking Ant-Man now, right now. No more Jenna Ortega until March 10th. Then we can talk about Jenna Ortega again.
Yes.
But Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Spoilerific. One last warning. 3, 2, 1. All right, Sean. I didn't watch your review on purpose because I knew you're coming on this show to talk about it with me.
Oh, okay.
And
that's cool. I hope you liked the video. I hope you went and liked the video and commented on it and subscribed to the channel while you were there.
And hit the bell for notifications every time we post videos just like that one.
Exactly.
But I wanted this movie to be a good time, a nice little slice of Marvel, and that's exactly what I got. I thought this movie was fun. Good? I don't know.
Okay.
I'm very torn on this. I only got to see it the one time. I saw it opening night, that Thursday night, and my theater was my auditorium was very cool about it. I had a good time watching it, but to me, the things I keep going back to, the stakes weren't as big as I thought they were going to be, and what the hype was going to be. The trailers made this movie seem like it was way darker when it wasn't.
Right.
And like I think when we did the trailer reaction, like my favorite shot of that was Kang stepping on Ant-Man's helmet. And that just kind of happened. It wasn't like a big deal. But overall, I still dug it. Now, I believe when people have asked me, I gave it a 7 out of 10, which I think is appropriate. It's higher than a Rotten Tomatoes score. Holy hell.
Yeah.
But I dug it. I liked it. I have no regrets, and I plan on watching it again.
I think I let some of the negative reviews color my expectation going into it, and so this outshone my expectations quite a lot.
Word.
And I liked it a lot. And that was exactly what I said. This was a blast. It was a ton of fun. That is the review of the movie. And I think it had the perfect amount of comedy. It's still, I do agree with what you're saying, which I hadn't really thought about too, how the trailers colored a much darker tone where Scott is sacrificing himself. And we can just jump right to the end. They spoiled in the trailer, like, I don't have to win. You don't have to, I don't have to win. We just both have to lose.
Yes.
That's literally like the final confrontation. And
that's the last thing he said.
If you're remembering it, you're like, well, oh, Kang just got carried away by ants. Well, obviously he's going to come back because they haven't fought yet. And it's like, I wish they would not have put that in the trailer, because it would have been a much. As soon as that happened, I'm like, oh, there he goes. But he didn't get his armor torn off yet. They haven't had a final battle. I'm like, of course we're expecting Kang to come back right before they pass through the portal. So I wanted them to actually like duke it out. And I do agree with it, which I hadn't thought about. I do agree with that sentiment.
And that's a trend in Marvel movies. That's been a trend. Like, one of my favorite teaser trailers, really just trailers ever, is the first one that we got for Avengers: Age of Ultron. I have strings to hold me down. Like that whole thing. It made Age of Ultron seem like the darkest and most grim movie on the face of the earth. And then the first real interaction we get between the Avengers is Cap calling out Iron Man for saying shit. Like that was it, right?
Right.
And the movie was definitely not the most grim thing on the planet.
Right. Yeah.
But this flick, the comedy was there, and I think, again, I don't want to just harp on the critics the whole time.
Sure.
This movie is I don't want to say overhated, but for lack of a better word, it's that.
Yes, exactly. It
like,
totally,
I don't get it. I don't understand this is what, one of the 2 MCU flicks that has a rotten score like this in Eternals.
Right.
And one of them actually warrants the rotten score. I'm kidding.
Oh, burn.
I'm kidding.
Jesse's in the chat. He's gonna
I
hate you.
know Jesse's gonna kill me. The next time I see Jesse like face to face, he's probably gonna punch me in the face. But
watch Eternals again now. Let's go.
And him and I, we've talked about that. We actually talked about watching Eternals again.
The best description for the comedy when it comes to it, if you were on board with MODOK, you probably loved this movie. And I think that's just a good description. And I was so on board with MODOK. He was fucking hilarious.
And I mean, and we all kind of put together who MODOK was. Yeah, with his little legs,
the big old head with little legs. He's like little arms.
I kind of liked the redemption arc.
It was well, because if they all played it straight, or if they all played into the redemption, it wouldn't have worked. But they all played into the absurdity. Like, yeah, you're an Avenger. They were all thinking exactly what we were thinking. Like every time they're like, they were just as taken aback as the audience was, and that's why it played perfectly, I think, in my opinion. Same thing earlier in the movie when I don't remember what the character, I think it was David Dastmalchian's alien character, when he's like, "How many holes do you have?"
Oh my
and he's
god!
Like, he has 7 holes, and then you see Scott pause and he's thinking, and we're all counting in our own head, and we're like, and at perfect timing, he's like, "Yeah, I have 7 holes. That's right. Like it was perfectly timed how they filmed it too. It's like, so if you bought into the comedy of that part, the ridiculousness of the comedy, that the characters themselves kept pointing out how ridiculous the situation is. That's why we were the audience, or they were the audience with us the whole time. It was great.
Like they were taken in the quantum realm just as we were. And although Janet, and I definitely want to talk about Janet and her whole role into this.
Janet.
Because there was some, I had some similar feelings like another Marvel character, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yes, the comedy is absurd. Maddie Gunner in the chat. What's poppin', dog? And we are talking Ant-Man spoilers for those in case you're just joining us. Ant-Man Quantumania spoilers 100%. But the comedy of this movie, and it's still in the same vein as the other comedy in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like it's the same team behind this. I think you got a different scriptwriter this time around, but still, I feel like the Ant-Man core is still there, and the hype behind this movie may have also deterred it for some folks. Like this was the beginning of Phase 5, and we were gonna get this whole, we're gonna go to the quantum realm. This is the beginning of, oh my god, because we know the Kang Dynasty is coming. We know Secret Wars is coming. One of the downsides to actually knowing things in advance is going into movies like this and expecting X, Y, and Z, when in reality, I think the only thing, at least what I took away from this movie, was that Kang is dead, according to dead. But that I was totally expecting this big sacrificial act by somebody, and I thought it was going to be Scott. That's how they framed it at the end. And then Hope showed up, and I'm like, oh, that's cute. By the way, their relationship totally underdeveloped, 100%. Especially in this movie.
They had one touch of the forehead at the very end where they're like, I love you too. Okay.
And I was like, what? Like
so
I didn't.
You don't like that they changed the initial ending. Did they change it though? Did they say that somewhere? Because it seemed like that was the ending, and then all of a sudden the portal reopened. So I wonder if that was a tack on, and they needed to get Scott back out of so that they could do that whole end scene and play the ominous tone at the very end. If you have a quote from someone, please let us know.
Yeah, because that definitely felt intentional. Like that seemed as if that was the plan from the jump. And I don't know about you, Sean, and anyone in the chat. If you had the same feeling as me, please say something. Mark Haas.
What's up, Moose? It was a touching. Yes, that's how touching foreheads work. It was a touching forehead.
I love Hope and Scott's dynamic, but it was missing from this movie. Like they were separated. They were separated the whole time,
the entire time. Yeah.
And until they were doing the whole quantum core stuff and all that. I mean, okay, I feel like I'm jumping all over the place. Kang. Let's
Yeah.
just get this out of the way.
Okay.
Let's talk about Kang and how great Jonathan Majors is.
Sure.
Like, okay, the whole explanation of like who he is, where he came from, how my man is exiled from time, and they sent him to the quantum realm, and the manipulation and he's blunt, and he's gonna tell I don't think, did he lie at any point?
So
Like,
I wonder, because when he was talking to Janet, he just omitted the truth. You know, he's just like,
it's
"Oh,
a
I was
half
crashed
truth.
here." Yeah, it was half truth, and it was like, "Oh, I kind of crashed here," and da, da, da. Like he was, but he's like, "I promise I'll get you home," right? So he has this thing about being truthful. He may not be forthcoming with that truth, but
Yes.
he's not gonna lie outright and lie to you, right? Um, yeah, and well, I don't know, because that is one gripe, is that she's like, "Oh, we did this for ages." It's like, all right, they didn't really sell exactly how long they were working on this thing. Maybe
Right.
it's because they're still wearing the same outfits, or just that,
And time works different in the
time
quantum
works differently down there.
realm.
So that was kind of a very small gripe I had with the how they showed the passage of time in the quantum realm. Um, I don't know, but either way, he played it so menacingly too, because as soon as he was like found out, he was still very stoic, and he's just like, "You don't have to do this. I can still fulfill my promise. I said I'd get you home. You don't have to." And then, and all the different parts that Jonathan Majors himself was playing, the different versions of Kang that we get to see, especially in the post-credit scene.
Yes.
They picked the right guy for the job, right? The fight scene at the end, how just menacing he was fighting at the very end.
He was beating
Like,
the hell out of Scott.
yeah, he was. I don't know. I mean, I guess Scott's an Avenger, and he's done some training with Hope. Like they did it in the first movie. They should had a whole training montage where he learns karate. And you got to imagine he's been training for the last however many years with the Avengers, right? So I guess you can say, okay, but Paul Rudd maybe just doesn't come across as like a martial arts master, whereas Kang comes across as a fucking boxer beater, like he's just gonna beat your ass. So I think visually striking the two standing next to each other didn't sell me on like a great hand-to-hand combat type of fight. It still worked, I guess, though. You just got to put your faith in Ant-Man as an Avenger to actually defend himself.
And the plot armor was real in that third act. Like,
well, and that's what All in the Game said. Like they definitely rewrote that final scene so that, you know, our heroes would win.
Well, like when Kang, like they were attacking like his citadel, you know, like all the refugees of Kang's conquering, they were attacking the citadel, and Ant-Man, Giant Man at that point. But is he still Giant Man in the quantum realm? Still.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I love that whole bit. I thought that was fun. It was really cool. But when Kang decides to get into the action, he's legitimately like disintegrating people with his hands.
Oh, that was terrifying.
But then, like when it came to Scott, it was just like pew, blow you back that way. Hope, pew, blow you back that way. And Cassie is straight up like who the hell are you? Like she's out here taking the fight to Kang. I respect it and I loved it. Like when she picked him up, like, and he does the whole like like loved it, but also like he was just like disintegrating people like a second ago. What happened to that?
I put it into that they were they kept shrinking down enough to evade, so he couldn't use like his full shoot, you know, disintegration powers or something, you know, because they were jumping around. I'm trying to remember if any of them took a straight blast or anything.
I want to say Scott did. At least Scott did. I want to say so. I might be wrong, and anyone in the chat can happily correct me. But I want to say I saw some of them take a hit from them blue beams out of his hands, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But again, I got over it. I love the fist fight at the end. And like you can tell Scott is out, he's getting outclassed, even though Kang earlier in the film, he said, "Oh, like you're an Avenger. Have I killed you before?" And the line that we got in the trailer, wish we didn't, because that would have hit different if we heard it for the first time in the movie.
Sure.
But he's like, oh, okay, so he obviously has fought Avengers before. And he even mentions besting Thor. He's like, the one with the hammer, whatever.
The one with the hammer, yeah.
But then you have a hard time with this version of Scott unless he is the definitive like best Scott Lang in our universe, and he just like not bested him, but
Okay.
evaded him enough to be like, oh, we just both have to lose, because Scott was getting the shit kicked the entire time, right? Like
Yeah.
arms popping and blood and punches in the face.
I think that was also to show the ferocity of Kang and how menacing he is, not just with variants of himself, but also with fighting power. And they did show him throughout the film to be no nonsense, like I'm gonna kill everyone. And you see that from the first touch of Janet to his chair too, when she has the visions of what he's done in the past.
Yeah.
Someone
Again,
had
disintegrating
posited
folks on different timelines.
someone had posited too, is that I wonder if she has visions of his past or all the Kang's past. And so that might not have been him, but they didn't really touch on that. Like, oh no, that wasn't me. That was another
I interpreted
version of
it
me.
as that was him.
Yeah,
that
was
specific version of him.
That's how I saw it in the moment too. It's just something someone else said on another review. So I thought that was interesting. It could be, because all the Kang mind could be attached to each other in a way.
I mean, they obviously communicate with one another somehow,
right?
With how the mid-credit scene played out. But
they did.
I want to show love to Jonathan Majors because, again, they, like what you said, Sean, they got the right guy for this part.
Yep.
And I would love, I don't know how logistically it would work from a schedule standpoint. I would love for him to pop up in literally everything from this point up until Kang Dynasty. Sure. I would love if he was just like a version of Kang popped up in every single piece of Marvel of the MCU up until Kang Dynasty, and they're all like, oh, you've seen this guy, oh, you've seen this guy, oh, you've seen this guy, and Scott's like, hey, I fought this guy. Yeah, he's terrifying.
Well, we have quite a few people coming around. So we got, let me see, I was pulling up another video that happens to have, we'll go to New Rockstars happens to have their thing. So they did a breakdown.
All right, hit me.
Here, I'll put this on screen. So we got a Future Kang. So they took screenshots. This is not us. It was not our fault. We didn't take shots in the movie theater. So they got him here. We got.
And shout out to New Rockstars, by the way.
Rama Tut Kang, right?
Yeah, I love that. Loved it.
Where's that other one? This one here. So Victor Timely on the right there. So showing up in Loki, which we see Loki and Mobius at the very end.
Love that. Yep.
And I don't remember this one's name. The one, you can't see my mouse. The one on the left. I don't remember his name.
Okay.
Which is it weird? Little racist? Did they put Jonathan Majors in blackface? I think it's kind of weird. Is that me? Is that just me?
They put a black man in blackface.
It seems kind of strange. I don't know. That's just
part of me likes to think that Jonathan would have pushed back on the idea of black man on blackface.
I feel like so. Yeah.
But I loved, and I know I think it was Mr. Haas in the chat that, or was it Haas or was it On the Game? Shout out to all the folks in the chat. I really appreciate the love. It was On the Game. He said that the mid-credit scene felt like an SNL sketch. I couldn't disagree more, frankly.
Hold on. Do you think this looks like the face of a man in an SNL sketch?
Yo, Jonathan Majors is an incredibly entertaining man. Like, I've been watching, like, after I saw the movie, I started watching all the promo that they've been doing for it. And I'm like, he is so damn charming as a man. Like, I love him, and his chemistry with Scott Lang is so that dude's gross looking.
Right.
His chemistry with Paul Rudd is so. I feel like it's genuine, that they're genuinely buddies, and it makes my heart happy. But this man, this Victor Timely person.
Victor Timely. Yep.
The second end credit scene of the film, we saw Loki and Mobius for the first time, and we haven't seen Loki season 2, obviously, so we don't know what their dynamic is after the events of the first season. But they look like they're that we're looking.
That was the name I kept hearing. Immortus. Yeah. Thank you.
It's like we're looking at a Loki who's seen He Who Remains at the end of time. And so he's familiar with his face.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm assuming now Loki's looking for I don't want to sit here and speculate because I guarantee I'm wrong. But Loki knows what he looks like now.
Right.
Loki and laundry's done. Loki and Scott Lang and the Langs and the Pims, they all know what this guy looks like.
Right.
And that's why, again, I emphasize I kind of want him to show up in the Marvels. Want him to show up. Whoever's left of the Guardians by the end of that, if they're going to continue playing a role in this universe, they see a Kang, you know, like, or they get put onto a guy that looks like Kang the Conqueror. Boom, another variant. So it really just it's going to get a little wonky because Jonathan Majors is going to he's going to show up in a different mustache every time.
He said straight up, you want me to play the same dish character in every one of your properties and you're going to pay me to keep showing up? Hell yeah, give me that money.
Give me a mustache.
He said, I'll show up in every property you're putting out. Let's
put me in blackface. I'm cool with it. Right?
You want me to show up in Echo? I'll be in Echo. You want me to show up in Daredevil? I'll be in Daredevil. So I'll show up in Miss Marvel in the Marvels, right? Maybe they'll come across which we didn't really touch on earlier. The Marvels got pushed back to November 10th ish or so.
Yes.
So is that Veterans Day weekend, I believe. So that'll be another thing. He could show up in that. The next movie we have is Guardians. Are we going to see him in Guardians?
Yeah.
Secret Invasion. Hell, they could even have him as a Skrull in Secret Invasion, right? It might not even be him. It might just be someone dressed up as him. They're like, oh, I saw this guy randomly. Let me show up, and then, but it leaves like the audience speculating, like, was that King? No, it was just a Skrull dressing up as him for a minute. So they could do all kinds of stuff. Who knows what they'll do.
I'm wondering if we're gonna get another Ant-Man movie, like Ant-Man proper, especially with how the whole like this part of the MCU in San Francisco, they're just like they were happily living their lives, and obviously Cassie's gonna be someone who is gonna be an Avengers type character going forward, especially her wanting to follow in the footsteps of her father. And I don't know how folks have been receiving Catherine Newton as Cassie Lang. She was one of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
Really? Okay.
I kind of like that she challenged her dad. Like how they wrote the character, like, yo, you're an Avenger, but now you're out here just signing books.
Yes, I do like that. Yeah.
Like she's challenging him and she wants to be like him. And I remember Jesse, shout out to him, he called me out on this because I'm like, why is Cassie in jail? And he's like, well, Scott was in jail too.
Yeah, 4 times.
Like, right, four times.
She was in 3 times, 3 or whatever it was. Oh, that was her 3rd time, right?
Yeah, she wants to be like her dad. Yeah. So like and I like that they gave her to
protesting homeless camp.
Right, people getting pushed out because they lost their homes during the blip. Like it's the little things. And I thought Catherine Newton was a more than welcome addition to the MCU. And you know damn well if they recast Cassie, and again I forget the actress's name who's Cassie in Endgame. But
Emma Furman,
thank you. But they recasted Catherine, and they wouldn't have done it if they didn't have bigger plans for Cassie Lang. Yeah. So she's going to be part of this universe going forward.
I agree, and that's exactly what I said actually in our non-spoiler review. Is the only reason they recast is because I think they had plans and they wanted a slightly bigger name than Emma. I've never heard of her before. I don't know what else she's been in. And Catherine Newton has been in a few things. She was in like Freaky. I knew her from Supernatural. And she even had a spinoff at the time. Probably when she got cast, they were actually trying to spin off Supernatural to the Wayward Sisters, which didn't go off. They only had a pilot or something like that. So she had a bigger name, sure. To be honest, so when it comes back to Endgame and the difference between the actors playing the character in Endgame, don't ask me if I cried during Endgame. Ask me what the first time I cried during Endgame, because that movie was very as big and action packed as it was very emotional. Agreed. And that scene where Scott sees Cassie, and as soon as she sees him through the screen door, and she goes, "Dad," and like runs and they hug. That I was in tears, and maybe it was just in 2019 seeing the movie. Like my kids, I have a daughter, like this, like it was all playing a factor. And like Scott's ferociousness of like trying to find her name on the memorial in San Francisco, and like and then he sees her for the first time in, how it's been 5 years since she's seen him. That hit me hard. And I thought she played it perfectly. I don't know if she's a great actress and could play the rest of the movie as much as Catherine Newton had to do in this film, but I would have loved for her to carry on. And Marvel, the MCU specifically, can make stars out of nobodies. So
Right.
maybe she couldn't do it. Maybe, I don't know. But I would have liked for her to get another chance. Catherine Newton gave me nothing in this movie.
Ooh.
I liked the character. I liked what Cassie was doing. I don't think she did super well.
Okay.
There was never, what she was saying never rang true to what she was portraying in the acting parts of it. She wasn't bad. She just didn't give me what the dialogue was calling for emotionally.
Sure. Okay.
But like not like she was bad at it. She just didn't. She was perfectly mediocre, and that was fine. So
it was enough, but it wasn't what you wanted.
Yeah, it was enough to get by. It wasn't. She wasn't going to get nominated for any awards.
Sure. And I mean, I liked it enough, and I'm looking forward to where the character goes. Like I said, I was missing something with Hope and Scott the whole time. I love Michael Douglas in this movie, and shout out to Bill Murray, who had like the implied relationship between Bill Murray's character and Janet was very funny, especially how Michael Douglas was like, "Yo, him." Like I know, I get it, but him really? Like that was really fun.
And I love that piece of dialogue. She goes, well, I had a few dates with some women. It didn't work out. Why didn't it work out? Well, they weren't you. I actually really like that back and forth between Hank and Janet. I thought that was really good because they both know, hey, you were gone for 30 years. Like we saw other people, but you are my one, right?
Exactly.
And they both felt that way against each other. They didn't know if they were ever going to see each other again. So I can appreciate that there's an adult relationship in the sense that they can both be mature about, hey, we saw other people. I'm glad Joey, you mentioned that. Joey, the scene in the car, that was it was a fun family dynamic between the two. We got some good comedy parts, laughing parts from Catherine herself. I just think none of the dramatic parts. I didn't get anything from her dramatically. That's what it was.
And that's why I was waiting for some type of big sacrificial thing from Scott to really push that character forward, push Cassie forward. Because Cassie, if they're not going to do Scott Lang anymore, it's going to be Cassie or Stature, however they want to.
Young Avengers, another team up with.
It'll be her
with Haley Steinfeld's.
And you can throw Spider-Man in that, please.
What's her name?
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop. Yeah, I couldn't think of that.
Yeah, you could throw so many different things that way, but I like Catherine in this movie. I think the cast did fine. My issue was just like there was a lot of just like waiting around, and we all were waiting for the end, and some things just didn't click for me, but. I think so. If anything, my issue is with the script. Like that was really my problem. But
I think it was New Rockstars. I think it was New Rockstars who pointed that out. Exactly what you said. Waiting around, they kept mentioning him. Oh, be careful for him. Be careful of him. Be careful. We all know who him is.
Exactly.
The Peyton Reed needed to work closer with the marketing team to not out and outright tell you exactly who the bad guy is in the marketing if you weren't going to let the movie flow into the not finding out who the bad guy was until halfway through the film. Whereas we met Hang in the very beginning and you don't know who he is, right? We all know who he is. In the movie, they haven't told you yet who this person is, right? We all know who the hell that was. So stop saying him. Just use the word Kang. Or let's have a scene with him earlier where he's, doing the flashback thing a little earlier in the movie, like type of thing. So I guess in the way pacing was a slight issue in that sense, where we didn't get to meet the ominous Kang until 50 minutes into the film.
Right. And a movie that's already 2 hours, a little over 2 hours long.
And that is one thing though. They're cutting down the screen, the runtime, 2 hours and 5 minutes or something. I think with Doctor Strange, which was a sharp 2 hours or just under, I could have used about 15 minutes more of multiversal stuff.
Thor
Love and Thunder, I think, was properly timed, maybe used a little more of gore, actually butchering gods. So
Sure.
I could use an extra 10 minutes of that. Whereas this movie, I don't think I needed more. I think they did a good job at fitting the story into the 2-hour runtime. And I didn't there wasn't like, oh, I needed 15 more minutes of this thing. I think they actually timed this one out. It could have even been a little bit shorter to get to Kang faster.
Yeah, and we're dancing around it,
much.
and that I'm glad you mentioned like the dancing around with the him,
Mm-hmm.
because like the stuff with Janet, holy hell! I honestly put like the whole Janet Van Dyne knowing about Kang the Conqueror bit. I put that up there with Peter Quill punching Thanos in the face. I put that up there with how much I did not like Shuri's character decisions in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I was upset. I was mad. It's like
why are you holding this secret in?
That's such a pivotal piece of information. That's universe ending.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Keep it up to yourself.
I agree with that. Yeah, she not only she keeping that to herself, she keeping everything to herself. She wouldn't say nothing. She tight lip. You know what? If you have a heist going on, you want Janet, because she ain't gonna tell. She ain't gonna tell nobody nothing. You catch Janet, she's not telling the detectives nothing. So you want her on your squad. So Mike, shout out to the real one. What up, Mike? Yes, I agree. And I said that earlier too, is that Multiverse of Madness, you had to have seen WandaVision. You would be lost if you hadn't seen WandaVision. And then with this, and we'll see what happens in like Captain America 4. Because if you have had to have seen Falcon Winter Soldier, yes, you would, because you're like, why is Sam Wilson Captain America all of a sudden? You will have had to have watched that show. With this, you don't really have to have seen Loki. I think it colors a little the background of Kang. Kang variants are coming and some timeline stuff, but they do a good enough job at explaining it to the non-educated viewer.
Unless folks are wondering why Loki's alive and why he's in the 1920s.
If you're watching the mid-credits, sure, but then you could be like, "Oh yeah, there's a whole show about Loki on." So it's more of like an intriguing thing.
Sure, it's cross promotion, baby. Go get your Disney Plus subscription and watch Loki. That's what they want. That's what they want out of you for all of this. Right. But we do have to bounce, unfortunately, because it may be a lazy Sunday for some of us, but some of us it's not.
I got housework to do. My wife's probably
please. I'm
lift
not giving
heavy
you
shit and go throw a bunch of stuff away.
Is that all you do? Is lift heavy shit and throw stuff away?
She organizes. I lift things and move them and put them down in other places. Typically the garbage can. So that's I don't organize nothing. I just roll off of whatever she sets up. If you had to give a rating out of 10, so because Rotten Tomatoes, everyone misunderstands Rotten Tomatoes. It's just a thumbs up or thumbs down. How many people, right? So 84% of people gave it a thumbs up.
I'll happily
audience wise, right? Not the critics.
Yeah, I'll happily give it a thumbs up.
Yeah. I would definitely a thumbs up.
Yeah.
So I still feel, and this movie didn't change anything. There's not a single MCU film under a 6 out of 10, in my opinion. There's a handful of 6 out of 10s. There's a lot of 7s, a lot of 8s, a good handful of 9s, and like 3 to 4 10 out of 10s, in my opinion.
That's a good question.
And we now have 31 movies and like 39 properties overall with the series. So that's a good score, right? That's a good run score. So I think that this sits firmly as an 8 for me. Maybe a weak 8, strong 7. It's right in the middle of the pack. It's not overly great. It's not terrible as the critics' Rotten Tomato scores would lead you to believe.
Yeah, no, and all in the game of chat, I think this is what I've been trying to say. I just haven't found the words for it. My issue wasn't the runtime; it was the script was a little light, and there was just a lot of, like what we said, waiting around. But I still like what we got. I'm very happy with this. I love Ant-Man as a character. I love all these characters, really. Even the new Cassie Lang, I enjoyed. Kang the Conqueror is going to be one tough son of a bitch going forward. And MODOK, what a goofy character that had a surprising amount of heart at the end.
Such a dick.
Yeah, it's like and Cassie with advice for everyone.
Yeah,
just don't be a dick. It's not hard.
Darren,
It's not
Darren,
hard.
Modofk.
Yeah, Modoff. Damn,
Look at
this
me. I'm
movie's
such a
fun.
dick.
This movie's fun. But I think I'm trying to think of movies that are under a 6 out of 10. I think I am inclined to agree.
Mhm.
That's a good talking point that we'll have to save for another stream.
Right.
And I know there are a ton of folks on this channel, Jesse, who also want to talk about this movie at some point. So we probably
Mhm.
will do another stream talking about Ant-Man over the course of the week. So
Probably.
if you already haven't, go ahead, hit subscribe, hit that bell for notifications every time we go live, or for every time we post a video, just like Sean and Jesse's non-spoiler review. If you want to hear Jesse's thoughts on it, non-spoilery. Plus, we have a bunch of other content coming out over the course of the week. I believe, Sean,
Tonight.
correct me if I'm wrong, we're doing more stuff tonight with The Last of Us. Go ahead.
Tonight. I'm watching The Last of Us live every week. We're doing watch-alongs here live. You don't have to be a patron because we don't have a Patreon set up, so you can just jump in. I know some other creators like to do that. Hey, good for them. You can only do the full watch-alongs if you join them. You can just join me live right here. I put a timer on screen. It's easy to sync it up. There's time codes. It's easy. You click play at the same time. Very easy to do. So yeah, if you're watching this live right here, right now, or even later today, Sunday, I will be back later tonight, 6 p.m. PT. Ish to watch The Last of Us, possibly with Allison. We'll see. She's on a road trip, so we'll see if she makes it home in time. If not, I should be here to do that.
See, and The Last of Us, I have not watched a second of this program. So I am, dude, I've been so caught up. I got to get to the Sandman. I got to get to Andor. I got to get to The Last of Us. I'll get to it at some point. And trust me, we're already talking about Sandman. One thing at a time. But I do want to watch Last of Us. That's something that people ask me about all the time. I think it's my cup of tea too. So we'll get there when we get there. But like I said, one more time, hit like on this video. If you're watching this after the fact, comment, please. What do you think of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania? What do you think of the little teases that we got for Phase 5 of the MCU from our main man, Kevin Feige? But until next time, all you real ones out there, for Sean Wingblade, my name is Chris Anthony Lopez. I will see you guys next week. Have a good one, y'all.
Yes.
Bye.